Welcome back to the War to Rise podcast. I'm your host, Paul Burns, also known as the Beard Man. And I have my man, Dan Herring from Ibex Fitness on the podcast. You are actually my first guest on this podcast. So welcome, brother.
Thank you for having me, dude. What an honor.
Yeah. So glad we could figure this out. And I know we've both had a couple chaotic weeks trying to get this scheduled, but we're here.
We are here. We did it. Yeah, I didn't know. I got to figure out a title now. If you're the bearded man, I got to be the curly stash man or something.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I
That's all
love
right.
it.
You got
Yeah.
me
We'll
beat.
we'll I actually um my wife and I we celebrated our anniversary last night. We're supposed to be in Mexico, but we went out to dinner and I was like, I'm gonna curl the stash. And dude, it's probably got to be 14 inches tip to tip. And it just like I had wax, I had everything in it, and it would not stay. It was just so long. So it's time to trim it up. But
You have me
um
fully beat. Yeah, I give you all titles.
and did were you serious when you said you actually use Elmer's glue in yours?
I am 1000% serious. People don't believe it, or they think it's like I'm pulling their leg. I use Elmer's purple glue stick, like kids washable,
That
every
is awesome.
classroom in America, maybe the world, I don't know, purple
Hmm.
glue stick. It's fantastic.
Man. Yeah. I've never tried that. Is that
So
hard to get
I,
out?
so I had ran into somebody who does like special effects makeup in Hollywood, and they swore by it. They're like, "Oh yeah, we do it on like eyebrows before we put on prosthetics. We do it on people's facial hair. We do it." I was like, "What?" And they're like, "No, seriously, it washes out. It's non-toxic." So they say. We'll see when
Yeah.
I
Right.
get some weird lip thing. And it's great. So it takes me
Hmm.
like 5 minutes. You got to use a blow dryer. I know it
Hmm.
feels weird. I had to buy a little cheap blow dryer. I never had a blow dryer,
Yeah.
and it'll hold for days.
That's
Like
awesome.
you'll get to the point where like I need to wash it because there's got to be other just dirt in my mustache, but it just holds. It's
Have you
fantastic.
ever tried Death Grip wax, mustache
I
wax?
I have not. I've been
Okay.
talking to that guy though, and he's awesome. And so I
Yeah.
succumb to it because he's a
Yeah.
cool dude.
I met him at the National Beard Championships in 2022. And I have their stuff. Like they have bare bones, which is like just a general everyday hold, and then they have the death grip, which is supposed to be like the massive stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not very well versed on actually how to, frame up my mustache and get it out because I just don't do it. If I cut it short and I can get it, looking like yours pretty good, but yeah, I guess I'm lazy. I probably should do it more because it looks better.
I can't even, I would have no idea how to do it with it that long.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
little
you
tutorial, but this is much shorter. So
yeah. Well, cool, man. We'll keep talking, facial hair and all the things, but like what is your story?
yeah, so grew up in a Christian home and it was fantastic. It also gave me a little bit of a feeling that I couldn't ever admit I was doing something wrong. And we can dive into that more. But
Yes.
so growing up, I would make a little mistake and I can't tell my parents that I did that. And then you make a bigger mistake, oh, and I definitely can't tell them that. And then it starts to build and you get caught up and you're like, what am I doing? Why
Mm,
am I living this lie, honestly?
yeah.
But I kept doing it right because, well, I can't let people down. So the story really builds from that, but then drinking, becoming an alcoholic, having marital problems, just to the point of overflowing. I'm a fireman by trade.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know that world as well.
Yep.
That is a job that I'm super thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
It also adds a lot of stressors.
100%.
And any cracks that are already existing in your life, it will magnify
Gonna
tenfold.
expose
And I'm
them.
not blaming the fire department or my
Yep.
job. It certainly was some extra gasoline to existing problems that I had. I lost some close friends. One of my buddies tragically died on a motorcycle. That was unexpected. At work, we had a call, and one of our captains was actually shot and killed. That kind of combined everything where work was the stressor, and now I'm also losing another loved one at work.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy into drinking again, heavy into it was not a good picture. Divorced, depressed, hit what I would call rock bottom.
Yeah.
didn't have anything starting from the ground up again. Once I had a lot of tools, so it was great. I guess I got to keep everything from my garage, but I didn't have a pillow. I didn't have a fork. Like, started over.
Wow.
So at that point, it was really like, what am I doing? I was ready to end it all, and through therapy, through getting sober, through just a incredible. It was really cool to see the people in your life that actually matter, how they come alongside you in a moment
Hmm.
you don't deserve anything. So that family, I'll call them, coming alongside me, pulling me up, and going through therapy, starting this journey of fitness and nutrition, really, literally saved my life. That was a very quick, I know, 30-second
No, no, it's there's
impact,
there
but
there's so many parallel. I mean, literally, it could be that I just got out of my cold plunge, but I'm getting chills of just part hearing these like tidbits of your story because there are so many parallels between you and I. And so I lost my best friend. He was a line of duty death from cancer at 36.
ugh,
He died in 2015 and he and I came up through the fire service together and that was probably the hardest chapter I had to write in my book, but losing a captain getting shot and killed on a scene is just fucking devastating, man.
yeah.
Like, um, and the one thing that you said, Dan, that I really resonate with is the fire department being able to expose like all your faults. And how long have you been in the fire service?
We're only coming up on 8 years, so I'm still
Okay.
newer in the game, but enough time where I worked for a city called Long Beach here in Southern California, and
Mm-hmm.
that was 5 years, felt like 20 years,
Yeah.
doing 20 to
Oh
30
yeah.
work a day, super busy, aggressive department. And then
Yeah.
for the last 2.5 now, I've been in Riverside City, did a lateral spot over. Not
Nice.
as many mandatories, which means like I'm not working as many shifts. So it's been a better quality of life, but still busy, still aggressive department. So yeah, 8 years.
Well, and that's the thing, man, is it's such a highly sought after job. Like, you know, I call myself I was a fire department whore because I moved around 5 different times.
Oh my gosh.
And think of testing and going through that whole process 5 times. I did that.
No
And
thanks.
the reason I did it is because I was looking for something that I was not getting, right? And it's really easy for me to be I've been out 8 years. But looking back and reflecting, like I was searching for something that I was not finding, right? And so like what made you go after that profession, the firefighting profession?
So I have actually only recently come to fully realize it. When you first start, you go do these oral interviews and you practice. And you're like, I like to help people,
Mhm.
and I never even fully realized a lot of the whys until I've gotten sober, until I've gone through therapy.
Mm.
I'll try to boil it down really quick again, but I was at a birthday party when I was 7 years old. Pool party. They had set up a trampoline. Some kids were jumping off the trampoline in the pool. Like, just, it was awesome. Summertime in Southern California, like, it was rad.
I already know where this is going, but keep going.
One of the parents, I remember hearing this just like scream. And this is the first time, this is like a core memory. The first time I can remember feeling legit fear. The first time I can remember feeling like absolutely helpless. I heard a parent scream. I looked down into the water. I'm still in the water, and there's a kid laying at the bottom of the pool.
Shit.
This dad, like with that, I mean, movie moment. Just as soon as I heard a scream, I see this guy flying over me, dives in, pulls out this kid. I'm now holding on to the edge of the pool,
Hmm.
and he is working. I mean, full CPR, water
Wow.
coming out, like he's not breathing. I don't know if he had a pulse. I was 7, but full
Right.
CPR. And then ambulance shows up. Like, I'm in a daze and blur, but I'm just in panic. Like, this is my first, whoa, life is real. The cops come anytime there's like a big scene like this. And for some reason, I don't know who or what happened, but somebody said that I had drowned this kid, that I had held him under.
What?
Didn't, thankfully. But now, having also worked on kind of high stress calls with pediatrics, our emotions sometimes get the best of us. 4 grown cops, literally, this sounds stupid, but pushed me into a corner and were yelling at me. And now I'm going from like unknown fear to like,
Holy shit.
it was terrible. And this same dad that had just jumped in and saved this kid, he did make it. He full recovery, incredible. The same dad literally came over and punched one of the cops in the face. Like this is a movie scene
Oh my gosh.
to the point where the police department had to, like a week later, we had to file a complaint. They had to come to my house. It was in the news, big thing. So I pretty much from that moment on, you can probably guess what the dad did for a living. He was a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
After that, he then was, my parents hadn't come yet, and he was like, "How are you doing, man? What's going on?" So I realized at that moment that that was like an icon, an idol. And I had told that story before, but then why? Why did I actually want to do it? Why do I always now in life feel like I have to do everything? If there's something in our house that's broken, I'm the one that wants to fix it. I
Yeah.
probably won't do it as good as other people, but I'm going to be the one that jumps on and tries to do it. So I realized, okay, it was all because that was the first time I felt like helpless and hopeless and afraid. And I decided at that moment, like, I am never going to be in that position again.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I am faced with things that I don't know, but I'm going to be the one to figure it out. I'm going to be the dad that jumps in. I'm going to be the dad that goes, I don't want to punch a cop, but
Right.
I'm never going to be faced or put in a position again where I don't know what to do. And so I guess part of me intrinsically was like, well, I'm going to be a fireman, jack of
Mm-hmm.
all, master of none, really. But
Right.
you have to
Right.
know a little bit about every single thing that you can think about. That was probably a
Well,
long answer, but
no, no, dude, it's all good. I think there's some key points in there too. One, only typically a fireman would have the balls to punch a cop.
no.
And two, um, I think men are inherently born with, being a provider and wanting to fix things, and then going into the fire service, like it just, increases that, right? And I know I've dealt with that in my life. I know, my wife's been frustrated because I'm able to, analyze a problem like that, and they go, "This is what we're doing," like in seconds. And she's like, "I haven't even thought about it, and you've seen the whole thing through to the end."
Yeah.
And that's, like I think that's what you have to do when you're in the fire department. You roll up on a scene that's out of control. You have to go, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. You go here, this is what we're gonna do. And I think it's definitely helpful, especially in business. At least I believe so.
Yeah.
So wow,
I
man,
think,
that's a crazy ass story.
yeah. Yeah. And it's taken me some years to actually figure out that that was my root. That was the why. But I think you nailed it right there with your wife. And I think it can go two ways because I have had similar experiences with my wife. And sometimes it's, oh, wow, babe, you figured that out quick. Sometimes I think our job as a fireman, our only job is to solve a problem. We
Mm-hmm.
just go and solve people's problems.
Yep.
If it's a leaky pipe or a house on fire or a medical emergency, we just solve the problem. And you're right, we have to do that in a split second. And maybe our decision wasn't the exactly right one, but we're going to
Mm-hmm.
still make it work. And we have to do it now. With my wife, a lot of times, it's not even that she wants a decision or wants an answer. She just wants to be heard. And so I've
Exactly.
had to do, and that's not like to minimize her at all. It's like that's just what she needs in that moment is to process is she just needs to know that somebody's listening and somebody's on her side. I don't need
Yep.
an answer. I just want to know that you're here.
Yep.
So I've had to pull the reins back a lot,
It's
and
hard.
it's super hard. And I
It's
say
so hard.
naturally as men, and then I mean, I guess
Yep.
I haven't had a bunch of other careers, but definitely my job is like I show up and I walk into a stranger's home, and I tell them what to do. Hey, I need you to turn on your lights. Hey, I need you to sit down on your couch. And then all the more so in my house, it's like, oh, hold on, I don't need to tell everybody what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. So 8 years at the fire department. We talked about stress. We've talked about, you going through these trials and things in your life. Like what do you think has gotten you through, those trials and those hurdles that has allowed you to rise to where you're at today?
I think there is some level of resiliency that is like innately in everyone,
Hmm.
especially maybe as a firefighter. Like we run on people that are living in insane conditions and yet they're still alive and they're still doing stuff. It's like I think humans naturally have this ability to kind of rise from the ashes or
Hmm.
function through terrible things. I think a lot of the times we are, I don't want to say blinded, but like we have this self-sabotage or like self-pity that can keep us just down. And it was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be there. So for me, people have mixed reviews, but for me, therapy started to get my ball rolling where it was like, okay, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get out of this. But then what actually brought me to fruition was my circle of friends and family that really stuck by me and were like, no, it's okay. Like,
Hmm.
let's do this. Oh, yeah, you did get drunk last night. What are we gonna do different? Why? What happened? And there wasn't like this feeling of shame. There wasn't this feeling of there was absolutely internal, but I wasn't receiving just a bashing. It was like,
Right.
no, let's do better. Let's try this tomorrow. Let's go here. Through all this, I've been so, I would say, lucky to find a partner now, and I'm remarried and have a wife and a blended family that has just become this pillar. I guess I'm not living my life for them, but oh man, I'm living my life for them. They're this incredible force and reason and purpose in my life to never let them down and to just be getting after it every single day so that they can, have this role model and I don't know. So yeah,
Be the standard.
therapy started it, but the core, and I'm talking like four people. It wasn't
Hmm.
this massive group of people that were with me, but like four. My parents were two of them, and then two solid friends were just there. And I think that's the biggest part for me, the relational aspect.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, you talked about you basically said that in my words, I would say that you're defying the status quo and just setting the standard for your family and yourself
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
simplest of terms.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I want to do.
And that's so how with the defiance of the status quo. I know my background when it relates to the fire department in that matter, but have you come up against things in the fire service of having that mentality of setting the standard and defying the status quo? Like, have you faced backlash at the fire department from that?
It's twofold. So I've worked for departments that are both super aggressive,
Hmm.
and that means like training hard, knowing your job, knowing your role, being a super efficient fireman. Like we get on scene and it is like smooth operation. That being said, the fire department as a whole has a lot of, it's overused, but like toxic traits.
Yeah.
We are terrible where we gossip about other people or somebody throws out something and runs somebody's name through the mud. It is ridiculous. I felt more stress from sitting at the kitchen table sometimes than actually out on a call.
Yeah.
My previous
100%.
department was the culture was like cooking, chow. That was the culture. For dinner, you are making, I mean, you're making a Caesar salad. You're not buying at a store. You are making the dressing. Two egg
Yep.
whites, olive oil, like you are making everything and you'd put in hours and people would be like, ah, this was
Dog shit.
undercooked. This was, and you're feeling more stress on like, wait, I'm trying to feed my crew than the call that we just ran where somebody died. What is
Yeah.
happening? That is backwards. So I haven't necessarily felt defiance from wanting to set like a status quo of like being a good fireman or being like a good human or man, but there is 100% like the word doesn't feel like defiance, but there is an absolutely broken part of the fire service with eating our own
Yeah. That's
and
a great point.
belittling or tearing down guys that maybe they just need some help.
Yeah.
You're right. You are a great fireman and they messed up on that. Should we run their name or let's just go help them? And if they're still doing it, then they're a turd and they're going to make their own name. But I
Right.
don't need to run their name through the mud.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know your full story, but what's your experience with like the defiance aspect?
Yeah, so I think naturally I'm a outspoken man. I've always been an outspoken man. That's how my family raised me. So when I got in the fire service and it was more like sit down, shut up type thing, being young and stupid. Like I actually started going to college to be a firefighter when I was 16. I was still in high school. I went to the community college and their open house for career day and talked to the firefighter. And he's like, yeah, you can start, coming here in high school. So as soon as I turned 16, I started doing that. And that's the thing, dude. It's like, that's kind of the joke that I tell everybody is like, Matt, remember how fucking stupid you were when you were 16, right?
Yeah.
Like we didn't know anything, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I started pursuing that. And, I got hired when I was 18. It was minimum wage. It was like a more of like a resident program up in Summit County where all the ski slopes are, but
Yeah.
they paid me 5.15 an hour. They provided me an apartment to live in, which I never did. And that was how I started. And then I got hired by my volley department like a year later. But I just I mean, my experience is more of the dark side. Being someone that was outspoken, not liking being told what to do. It's not like I would, be told to do a task on a scene and I wouldn't do it. I would just, I always like to ask questions. And that was the biggest thing that um I came up against was, hey, I just need to understand why we're doing it this way. Not saying, well, what the fuck? Why are we doing it that way? Like I would just go, hey, I need to understand. And that was a big problem for me in the fire department. And um I ended up transitioning to the bureau side about I would say full time like 11 years in. Just because I had an interest in it. And, the fact that I had 3 degrees, the fact that I had like 30 credentials, people fucking hated me. Yo, you're a cert collector, and it's like, so I was towards the end of my career, I was trying to become the fire marshal. And my last department, um, was just, it was like you said, eating their own. It was so chock full of bullshit. Like the stress of going to work was fucking terrible. My wife would tell me, she'd be like, hey, do you hear yourself in the morning when you get up? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? She's like, you are like just like your body is like just
Yeah.
trying to prepare you to go to work. And I worked with two older guys that should have never fucking been in an investigator role, period. One was 65, had cancer, didn't have a prostate, like had to wear diapers, and he like worked in the bureau with me. The other guy was 350 and 350 pounds and hadn't passed a physical in 5 years. He was a lieutenant that they almost fired off the engine, but instead they stuck him in the bureau. And it was the most ridiculous thing you could imagine. And this is what pisses me off. And I'm not saying every fire department, but you'll understand this. Like this idea of, he's a 20-year guy, cut him some slack. Like and here's the thing. I will say I was guilty of this too because the stress and the job got to me so much that I put on fucking weight like a motherfucker. I was the heaviest I had ever been. I was the sickest I've ever been. But then I started to get back into shape and I started working on myself. And the two, old codgers that I worked with were pissed that I was working out on duty, which I was allowed to do. So much that we're having fucking meetings with the fire marshal about him working out. And I mean, just stupid petty shit, right? But what really makes me mad is, you know, those guys become a liability, right? And there's, when you're overweight and you're in a high stress job and you don't take care of yourself, you then become the liability when you're on scene. And
Yep.
that's what pissed me off the most was like, look, because we know if one of our own goes down, what are we doing? We're ceasing everything and we're going after one of our own, which I don't disagree with. But if one of our own's not doing the things to take care of themselves and be the standard and hasn't passed a physical, I'm going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right. And they're going, Paul, you need to pass a physical. It's like, okay, so I am being held to a different standard than Mr. 350-pound guy who can't fucking walk, like literally dragging his leg, Dan. He couldn't walk and he's on duty. And then he became my supervisor. and
Yeah.
and so it's just, that's a lot of my story. Not to say that when I wrote my book, I was really hesitant about, telling the dark side of it because I start off the chapter with like, to all the guys just like you, that are out there, they're living their job. That's the job they want to do. They're going out, they're putting their bodies, their families, everything on the line. Like, I appreciate you 100%. But I was just in a place where I had to fucking get out. And when my buddy died in 2015, his widow called me and I was at the fire station and she's like, "Hey, like he's about to go. So say your goodbyes." And I walked into the training room, shut the door. I'm in a fucking puddle on the floor, just telling my best friend, like, I love you, I miss you. And like from there, I was like, I'm done. Like I have to change like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And at that time, like I had no sense of smell, Dan. I had no sense of taste. I had 3 sinus surgeries. um, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. Like I was sick as fuck from the stress, from the job, from the toxins, from all of it. And I was just not happy. So I made the decision to leave and start a business. And, the number one question I get is, do you miss it? And it's like, no. There's not one thing that I miss about working for the other than the people, right? There's some guys that I worked with that are fucking fantastic people. Yeah, the brotherhood maybe is what I miss, but I don't miss the job whatsoever.
Yeah. I think you nailed a few things. So moving from long, when I was in Long Beach, 20 to 30 calls a day, stuck on a box,
Wow.
about 10 mandatories a month, which means I'm at work like 20, 21 days a month, completely unsustainable. And I was also the heaviest I'd ever been, absolutely unhealthy. Sometimes we'd have the time to work out, but then I was just too tired and exhausted and like, I don't want to work out. And then you didn't work out for a week. And they're like, well, now I'm definitely not going to work out. And just this terrible cycle. And so moving to Riverside was actually like, I'm trying to leave the fire service, but I am taking a step down. Even though I had to do probation and everything again, it was still like, okay, this is way better quality of life. And now starting this is, yeah, the ultimate goal is to follow your steps. And same leaving Long Beach, I miss the people. I'm still talk to a bunch of them, still some of my best friends. I don't miss the job so far there, even though I know I'm still in the job. You hit something saying about not that you butted heads kind of, but you if you asked why and they wouldn't give you an answer or something. I think that's huge. And it comes down to leadership too. Like that can just
Yep.
be, you had a bad captain or a terrible leader or whatever. But I think if you read through or listen to any, I was not in the military, but I listened to a lot of guys like Jocko or whatever, and you listen to any of these guys, and that's the basic principle is like you have to have the buy-in. Your guys have to know the why. If they don't understand the why and they don't believe in the mission or the goal, they're not going to do it, or they're not going to know why they're doing it, and so they're not going to do it the right way or the right reason. But if you instill that like leader's intent in somebody, then maybe I don't even know the best way to do it. But like my captain said, hey, we need to do this. There's fire up there, whatever. Well, then I understand the why. So then I'm going to figure out the right way to do it. So that would be super frustrating
Yeah.
not having an answer or not knowing why, or somebody just, well, because I said so. No,
Yeah.
that's not what the fire service should be about. Um, and then totally changing. topics, but you've hit cancer a couple times clearly with your buddy.
Hmm.
And then you were saying the guy you were working with also. That is such a real job related illness that people, I think firemen, we all know it, but the general public have no clue that I think it's number two now for LODDs, right? I think cardiac is still number one, either on
I
the
haven't
job or off
looked.
the job. And then I think cancer is climbing pretty high right now. I'd have to,
It's
yeah, I don't want to misquote it, but
Yeah, it's got to be up there for sure.
it is huge. All the carcinogens, all the toxins,
Yep.
everything in a house now is plastic
Yep.
and leather, and it used to be this legacy, right? Wood, cotton, stuff burned really slowly and not that hot. Now
Hydrogen cyanide, baby.
everything is literally just gasoline in physical form, hard form, and houses are burning at rates that we haven't ever even seen or thought about. And then
Wow.
all those chemicals and carcinogens. I just saw a stat. Firefighters' kids are 40% more likely to have childhood cancer than non-firefighter kids, and it's because of all the toxins that we bring home. Just
Bring home.
even like we try,
Fuck.
it's part of our thing. Riverside is good. We've got a clean cab policy. If you're on scene, you do a structure. Okay, you bag up your old turnouts. You have 1 hour that you can be out of service if needed. You're supposed to shower within that first hour, which doesn't really work out because you're on scene for 6 hours
Right.
sometimes, doing an overhaul or whatever. So you've been sitting in carcinogens for plenty long. But immediately after, you try to decon, try to clean up, and we do our
Well,
best.
I'll give you a tip on that decon, dude. We have a infrared sauna in our health and wellness center, and there
Yeah,
was a study that was put out. If you can hit that infrared sauna within a few hours of being on a structure fire, your chances of cancer pretty much go away. Like
you're
it's
trying to get a grant.
Are you? Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's and actually like with my health story, like I can't even sit in an infrared now. It fucks me up. But I used to do it like 4 or 5 times a week, especially when I got out of the fire service because you mentioned a few things of, having two sets of bunker gear and doing all this. Man, when I was there, we were fucking throwing our bunker gear in our fucking cab.
yeah,
As investigators, it was sitting in our cab. We'd turn on the heater in the winter here in Colorado. I mean, just you want to talk about exposing yourself. Like that's all we were doing was exposing ourselves. Um, and so, thankfully, it's my wife. Not only did my friend that died, he saved my life. Like his passing
mm,
and going home, it like that really made me go, I need to get out. And it took me about a year and a half after he died to get out. But and then that with my wife, with all the testing we do, I take an immune panel through our clinic every year. That your medical doctor would only run that if they thought you had AIDS. But it's like $150, and it shows all of your killer cells and all these markers, just to make sure that I'm solid.
yeah,
And it's like, uh, you know, getting a grant, like a sauna should be in every firehouse. They should be running these immune panels that we run for $150. Come on, dude,
yeah.
like that, and so. But yeah, man, it's definitely find an infrared sauna for yourself and do that.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna fork over like everybody at the station. If we all put in like $100, we're just gonna be able to grab a couple $1,000 and
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
it.
I think the one we have, it's a two-person. It's called a Sunlight and Sauna. They're supposed to be the cream of the crop. I don't know if they are, but it was like 5 or 6K.
Yeah,
Um, totally worth it.
yeah,
Totally worth your health, right? So, well, that's cool, man. I mean, so you mentioned, we've talked about fitness a little bit. So that is your goal. Like you're now a fitness coach, an online fitness coach. You're fucking crushing that game. Like, is that going to be your full-time thing?
yeah. It's 100%. It should be right now. I'm just still like, oh, there's nerves, right? With
Yep.
fully abandoning and jumping ship into, I don't want to say the unknown, but like I know for a fact as long as I continue to show up to work, be honest, don't lie, don't cheat or do something, like I'm gonna have a job for the next 22 years until I retire.
Yeah.
Happens if the online fitness world, what happens if Instagram shuts down next year?
Yeah.
There's still some nerves, but uh yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna have to jump ship and
Well,
commit.
that no, that's dude, that is I 100% understand that. When I left, I was so fucking scared that I was going to lose everything, right? Like I was the primary breadwinner. I had the insurance, I had all the stuff. 14 years in of the only fucking career I'd ever had. And I walked away. And it was just like, my wife and I didn't foresee this 6,000 square foot, three doctor wellness center that we have today. Um, but I walked away and started my own business as a home inspector because that was my path out. Um, and you touched on it, being raised Christian. I was raised Catholic and totally not in religion now, but I'm more spiritual than ever. And I don't know if that's the same for you, but I I uh I was in my last year as an investigator. I was also an inspector. I've reviewed, plans, built all these buildings. I was on construction sites every day, taking photos with my iPad, writing reports. Like that's all I did. And then when a fire came in, I'd go investigate. And so I heard this advertisement on a radio, which I never listened to, which was also funny, about being a home inspector. Start your own business. I was like, fuck, I could do this. And my son was like a year and a half at the time. I was only seeing him about 30 minutes a day because I was working basically 410s. Um, and that's what allowed me to leave. I was like, fuck, I'm already doing this. I'm already showing up to a place, taking pictures of discrepancies, writing a report, and going to the next. Like, why can't I do this home inspection thing? So I did that for 3 months, and then I shut that down, and that's when my wife and I started this health and wellness clinic.
It's
And
awesome.
so all I could offer you in advice is you just got to jump, man. Whatever you're scared of, whatever's holding you back, none of the fears that I had came to fruition when I left.
It's awesome. Yeah, we're basically going to just we're setting enough aside where it's like, okay, we've got
Yep,
1 year of a buffer,
that's
and
awesome.
then that's when I'm gonna pull the plug. So
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
absolutely in the works. I just want to make sure I'm
yeah,
so, and with that from divorce and everything, it's like exactly what you're saying, dude. My time already is limited with my kids. And
yeah,
now having a job where it's like, oh, sorry, we might be going on a strike team for 14 days, and now I'm going to miss out on the only custodial time that I have with my kids.
yeah.
And then I already, as is, only get every other holiday. So
Fuck. Yep.
0 to 18, I get half of that. I only have
Yeah.
nine
Fire
Christmases.
Department Inc., brother. Man, they
Yeah, I
got
only
you.
have 9 Christmases to make a memory, and I'm probably going to be working on, so I only have like 5 more Christmases with my kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
in
tough,
their
bro.
mind, but I know we're going to have adult stuff. But so that was like a massive driving force of like, yeah, no, my family, my relationship with them. And I think that's where a lot of culture is changing too. I think as men, my dad was incredible. He started his own company too. So he always had a lot of time to invest and put into us as a family. So that's what I've had as my kind of shining light and what I want to do as well. But I think a lot of men, it's always been your job is to just be the breadwinner. You just provide, you just show
Yeah.
up and not invest you are investing financially, but you're not really there.
Right.
And it seems like our generation is completely trying to rewrite that. It is so much more valuable for me to be there, for me to be intentional, and for me to show up than to just provide money. Money's going to come. We don't need to be loaded, but you're going to grow up. And if you're only had money and I didn't show up to your T-ball game and I didn't show up to your school recital and I didn't show
Yeah.
up, so that's going to stick more.
Yep. Yeah,
So
man. I'm excited to see you transition
me too.
out. Just not to kind of like stick one to I called it Fire Department Inc. in my book. Like it was just like, and that's a big part of my story is my beard became this symbol of freedom. for
Yeah.
me to leave because we had to shave every day. So and ironically, when I wrote my book, the verb definition of beard is to confront with boldness and resolution and often defiance. That's what beard means. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's my fucking story. That's my whole life. It's fucking amazing. So
Even
but it
know
was
that was the
this,
definition.
yeah, dude. I didn't either. I didn't either till I started writing my book. And so like when I found that out, I was like, this is awesome. Like this is how it should be. You should write a book, dude. You should write a book and especially, with your background already,
Yeah.
you know.
That
Definitely
seems incredibly daunting. But you know what? I like challenges, so let's go.
yeah. Well, I'm here. I can tell you how to do it and coach you on that, but um it's really good to just put that stuff, especially for I think as men. And I had to relive a lot of stuff that I had processed from the fire department in that process of writing a book and putting down these stories on paper, and like things that I thought I had dealt with, I hadn't dealt with. So
Yeah.
there was a time where, man, like in the process, I was actually reliving some of the trauma and reprocessing and just getting it out, you know.
I know for
Um
me, I have to put like I'll have a deep thought and either in my phone app on my notes or something, but there's 1000% a cathartic process through not like the nostalgia, but through dumping and removing
mhm.
that RAM that's being used up for processing. If it's whatever, you're ruminating on some thought, getting it out. And once I have it on paper and a note, my brain can completely wipe that and be like,
Yeah.
okay, like I've still got it saved. But, and then also just through the writing process, it takes all these scattered, chaotic thoughts that I'm having. And it's like, no, now it's a sentence, now it's a paragraph, and it is able to surmise it so much better than just like, and I don't know if you do it, but we'll run a call or do something. And in the moment, I'm completely fine. Like, handle this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I think about all the things that could have gone wrong. And I'm like spending more time ruminating on these made up scenarios. Well, what if this, why am I wasting time and energy and effort on all these things? That has nothing to do with writing a book, but I'll go down that road all the time where it's like, why am I worrying more about all the what ifs? That probably says something. Any psychologist listening, hit me up.
It's probably I mean I think it probably goes back to just the process or the stage that you're in. Like you're reflecting on things that could have happened, but how you would also handle those things, right? I mean, I do that all the time, dude. I like I maybe by nature, for whatever reason, I tend to, worry more than I probably should.
Yeah.
But it's probably because of the shit we've seen, the shit we've been through. And more than ever, especially firefighters and police officers, man, like when I was in the service, you didn't talk about shit we're talking about now. Like you did not, talk about like, hey, like this scene really fucked me up,
Yeah. Nope.
and I got trained in the days where, when I first, saw my first dead body or worked the first dead body or whatever, like I told my cat, I was like, man, I don't know, I feel kind of weird about it. He's like, well, what you need to do is you need to open their eyes and look in their eyes. And I was like, what the fuck? So that's what I started doing. And apparently that helped. I don't know if it really fucking did, but that was the old school, just, fucking
Fix it.
grin and bear it, you know?
Yeah. Well,
And so,
I think you hit it there too. Like the circumstances and events that we have seen make us now like have to pre-plan everything. Like when I go
yeah.
into a restaurant, I'm the weird
Yep.
guy. It's like
Where's
I'm
the
not
exit?
doing it awkwardly, but like I'm seeing where everything's at, and I'm probably gonna sit with my back against the wall so I
Yep.
can see out. Like
100%. Go to a
doing the
concert.
loop,
This is where we're going.
yeah, doing the
Everybody else is
loop
going that
all
way.
the time.
Station night, club fire, like,
Yeah,
yeah, that 100%, dude. But I
and
also, Oh, go ahead.
No, you hit it, dude. Station nightclub, go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think you can use it in a positive way, especially like what you're transitioning to with your family, and even though you have these hesitancies of saying I'm gonna walk away from the fire department, you can take that and apply it to your business and apply it how you and your family are gonna move forward. Like we homeschool our kids, like we are just a family as much as possible.
I love that.
I work with my wife. My boys come to the office. They're 8 and 5. But that's like we're building the life we want to build. And even though, we were talking about before we started, like I've had a shitty 2 weeks with our server crashing and all this shit, but it's still my wife and I had this conversation at dinner. Like we are still in control of our life. Yes,
Yeah.
we have a business where we had to cancel our trip to Mexico this week to get this figured out, but we are still in control. And I'm not allowing some, 350 pound, half dead guy control my vacation time or whatever it is, like the stresses are different. And, even on my most stressful day in business it does not even compare to the stressful day at the fire department.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I
but
think that's huge that, I mean, we always get to can't control our surroundings, but we control our reaction. But
yep,
even more so, you, in a sense, are controlling your surroundings and your response. Like being the owner of your own thing, yeah, server crashing, but it's still something where you have more of a tangible,
yep.
um, I don't know, sense of control that it's not gonna, yeah, I'm excited to get to that phase and not be just stuck running calls and getting mandatories.
Oh yeah, that sounds terrible. Well, when you leave, are you going to grow a beard?
I don't know, dude. This is
Can,
now
can
kind
you
of just
grow a
the
beard?
iconic look.
I know,
I've never tried.
really.
I
What
mean, on my days off, it'll get pretty fuzzy real quick. So I'm assuming I could, but
yeah.
maybe it would stop right here or maybe be patchy. I don't know.
What made you grow the stash?
I don't fully, I just liked him. My dad's always had a mustache,
Yeah.
but I never had one before the fire service. And then it was like, oh, well, that's what firemen do. So
Yeah.
I just kind of started growing it. And then apparently I can curl it well that other people are like, I can never get mine to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a thing
it's
now. But
it
it's
can
gone
be
beyond
hard to
me.
tame.
So I always, even when I was probably started going to a barbershop like on my own when I was 18 and getting just like, a gentleman's cut and a hard part.
Yeah.
And that was not the norm. Everybody that I was hanging out with, and even me in high school, dude, I had long hair, like Southern California, super just
Yeah.
low. So then it was like, whoa. And it's cheesy, but people started being like, he's a Dapper Dan, man. Like, and I kind
Dapper
of
Dan.
really
Yep.
took pride
Hell
in
yeah.
like looking sharp
Yeah.
and always having my hair done. And people make fun of me at work because we'll get back from a run at like 10 p.m. and I'll take a shower and I still do my hair and like we're going
Nice.
to sleep, dude. It's like, no, we're not. Like we're probably gonna be awake and I'm just gonna look sharp. So that's a weird prideful thing probably on my end. But then now the facial hair has become its own thing where yeah, my stash is always looking done.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It's how you show up though.
Yeah,
The adage of how you do one thing's how you do everything,
yeah, yeah,
and that plays into your coaching and how you're coaching your clients and how you're showing up for yourself and your family. And that's the thing that is I think is definitely lost right now in men. And that's I'm not a fitness coach. I'm more of like a lifestyle coach for busy dads, but you know that's what men need,
yeah.
you know.
Well, I think that is exactly fitness is the route that I have taken to help men, but it's that sense of purpose. Men need a sense of purpose. Men need like you can back it up to the history of time or whatever. Like it was always literally, you're going to go out and hunt something or you're going to starve to death. You're going to go
Yep.
out and collect wood or you're going to freeze to death and you don't have a fire. We need a purpose. We need something that we're striving after. And we live in this instant gratification world where we have not really needed to do anything. You can sit
Right.
on your couch and have food delivered and watch whatever show you want and get some form of mindless entertainment to where you're just existing. And men have lost their purpose.
Yep.
Men
I
do not have a reason now to do something.
I had this exact conversation with somebody. I was telling a story. I did a golf trip with my brother and my dad that we do every year, and my brother brought his friend, and 10 o'clock at night, knock on the door. I was like, what the fuck? Well, he ordered crumble cookies at 10 o'clock at night. And it's just this like, so I got asked, like, what do you think the problem is today with men? I'm like, everything's on demand. You hop on
Yeah.
Instagram, you have softcore porn. You can go on Tinder and go, pretty much
You
get
can do
sex
whatever
when
you
you
want.
want. Like everything's on demand. So you almost don't have to work for anything. And that's why men are in the state they're in. That's why divorce is where it's at. It's, you know, the everybody wants to talk about the divorce rate being at almost 50% for first marriages, but it's actually almost 70% for second marriages. And what that tells me is that men aren't changing,
Right.
like you have, one failed marriage and then you go to the next one, you do the same shit and that one fails. And so, obviously I don't believe that's the case for yourself, but, yeah, dude, this on demand shit is why men need other, guidance.
Yeah.
So
And I think the mindset and the fitness game, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, are literally like two of the last things that you can't just buy. You have to earn.
you have
You
to,
have to put in the time working on yourself and going through a process to get a clear mind. You have to put in time in the gym and takes some time to see any form of result.
yep,
And I think that is a really cool aspect where it is like the last one of the last gigs where you have to earn it. Like
yep.
you see somebody walking around shredded, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that guy is no, that didn't just
Taking
happen."
steroids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. If that's
Yeah.
true,
And
then start.
yeah, right. Well, and I think that's what most guys believe. Like you know, oh, I'll just take TRT and get abs. Like, fuck no, dude. You still have to do the
Most of the
work.
time. I
Yeah.
worked with a lot of different people, but one of the guys at my station was a, SWIC member. Like he's the guy operating the boats for the SEALs and doing just crazy
Wow.
stuff. And he was awesome. He's the most humble. Shout out Greg. He's the most humble, hardworking, up every day. We've been up all night, and he's still in the gym at 4 a.m. like getting after it. And it was funny. He was like, there's these girls, and they're like, I'm scared to lift weights because I don't want to get big. He's like, it took me like 10 years to get big. He's like,
Yeah.
you're not just gonna start lifting weights. Don't worry. Like, you're not just gonna get swole all of a sudden. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is, yeah, it takes some dedication, it takes time. And that's not to deter anybody from starting
Right.
or doing, but I think it's an absolutely respectable thing that, yeah, it's kind of the last thing you can really earn in this instant gratification world.
Well, and it actually it goes so much deeper than that though too. Because in my program, it's like, your fitness, your nutrition, and your sleep are paramount in you succeeding in all other areas of life. Like that's
Yeah.
why it's one of the fundamental things in my program is because I've lived it. I've seen it in my wife, who's our head clinician in our clinic when she is, not taking care of herself or she has a lull week where she didn't work out or whatever, our business goes down. And
Yeah.
so it's like if you're a man and you own a business and you want to grow your business, you want to make more and you want to take more time off, you need to start with your fitness. And
Yeah.
so it's very when I first heard this, like your body dictates everything else, I was like, man, I don't know about that. But now that I've lived it and been in the position and coached it and all this stuff, it really is fucking paramount. And when we talk about, depression and anxiety and all the things that as men we experience, I have found that when you are not executing as a man is when all of those things come up. Like when
Yeah.
you are not executing on something you should be doing, that's when you start having those feelings. What do you think about that?
Well, there's that entire book. I forget the author, but The Body Keeps Score, and
Hmm. I
it's the
haven't heard of
same
it.
thing. Oh, it's all about how traumas literally like stay in your body and can affect you in different ways. And um, if you're not executing things on the daily, you're going to be falling off. But also, if you're not executing things and handling previous stuff,
Yeah.
that's still going to be, I don't want to say dragging you down, but impeding your progress as well. So 100%, if even on the basic things, and I'm terrible because I don't want to blame it on ADHD, but I have ADHD. And so I will start a project and I get bored with it. And so then I'll do another project. And then I'll see this one project of a half painted cupboard. Well, now it's been a month. So I definitely can't start it. And like, well, now it's been 2 months. It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
If I just execute even on simple tasks, then it gets done. And then I set myself up. If I don't, then I have a bazillion tasks weighing me down. And you get that analysis paralysis where it's like, well, I could do
Yeah.
any one of these 50 things. So I'm going to do none of them because I just feel overwhelmed. My wife now understands that she'll be like, hey, babe, can you help me do this? Oh, not now. I'll remind you because she knows that I have learned if I don't do it immediately, I will forget. So
Mm.
I'll be in the middle of doing one task and she'll be like, hey, babe, can we do this? And I will stop immediately what I'm doing and go handle it for her because I know that if I don't do it right then, it's not going to get done.
Nice.
So sometimes she has to, yeah, she'll set a reminder, hey, finish what you're doing in like 10 minutes. Can you help me do this? Yeah. So 100% that affects all aspects of my life. If I don't follow through, dude, I have to like give myself anchors on everything I do where
Wow.
that's how bad I am. Because if I'm not staying tracking on something and not staying organized, and I'll still fall off this, but every time I check my phone, oh, okay, yeah, I gotta do that one more task, I gotta do that one more thing. And it lines out everything for the rest of my day so that I know stuff's getting handled and I'm not forgetting something.
Well, but that probably is also what makes you successful. Because I know, especially with the clients that I've worked with, especially in business, like in business, we track everything. We have
Yeah.
P&L sheets, and we have KPIs, and we have all this. And then when it comes to your life, you're like, I don't fucking track anything. So tracking workouts, tracking food, tracking date nights, tracking meditations, like all of that stuff really, perpetuates success.
I just had this conversation. I was talking to the wife about exactly what you just said. In every other aspect of life, we track things. We have a manual, we have a study guide, we have something. And yet there's nothing that I mean, now people are like me and you are starting to help people do it, but there's nothing broadly given out of your personal life, a
Yep.
relationship. And every relationship's different. I understand there's nuances and things but there's some basic stuff that you want to learn how to drive a car. There's a whole manual how to do it. You want to learn how
Yeah.
to, whatever, mathematics, there's a whole manual. There's nothing that just, hey, it's really important that we do this with our minds. Hey, it's really important we do this with our bodies. It's wild. And
It
yet that's
is.
like the most important thing, and there's nothing on it.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, we're coming up on an hour here, so
You're
any any
fantastic.
any parting words or
I think, if anything, it's a testament to there's been a lot now breaking into this world where I think you said it earlier, but like the fire service was don't talk about stuff. Don't
yeah,
open up emotions. I don't know, don't share your real feelings, basically. And it is so cool to see how many guys specifically, I know there's women out there too, but guys that are willing to have like intellectual conversations,
mm,
but conversations that also have some sustenance and meaning. Um, and I think there's a lot of value if anybody's listening. Like, don't be afraid to have vulnerable conversations. Don't be afraid to have insightful conversations. Sometimes we feel like, oh, it's going to be stupid, or no, you're going to get so much out of it and you're going to be nourished yourself. Like, I'm stoked for today. Like, it's still early for me. We're only at 9 a.m. But I got so much good stuff to process through today now. And just thank you for this time as well. Thanks for taking the time and letting me talk.
yeah, man. I love that you said that. I think the most manly of men are the ones that can do what we do, but also talk about the hard shit. I
Yeah.
think that I think that's what makes you a man, honestly. Not the I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm gonna keep it inside until I fucking explode. Like that's not what makes you a man. So I love that you said that. So where can people find you?
Yeah, Instagram is going to be your best bet. Ibex.fit. That is where I am on too much so. I have to set my phone down. I've also got a website, ibexfit.life. Um, and then I'm popping up, I guess, on almost every other social media under ibexfit, but I'm mainly on and responding to Instagram.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. Appreciate what you do for the fire service and helping men for sure. So, yeah, man. Look forward to seeing you transition full time into coaching.
Thankful for it. Thanks,
All right,
buddy.
man. Have a great day.